Joining us is Barry DiRaimondo, is the executive chairman and CEO of SteelWave Digital New Voice. Barry, 25 years behind bars for one of the biggest financial fraud schemes in history. Does the punishment here fit the crime?
I think it does. I mean, look, I think it was the perfect storm on some level. You know, when you have a regulatory environment that's murky at best and it's not definitive about what you can and can't do, people are going to find those voids and fill them. And I think on some level that happened. But again, it's a perfect storm. You've got an individual who filled those voids in a murky regulatory environment. But I don't think the investors are without blame either. You know, I think when you're an institutional investor and you are providing capital to an organization to invest on their own behalf with full discretion, you generally spend more time underwriting that organization, those individuals, than you do the strategy. You want to understand how they think about risk. You want to understand how they price risk. You want to understand how they manage risk. And you want to understand what guardrails are in place. And I don't think a lot of the investors who are big institutional investors actually did the due diligence. And, you know, we are where we are and life moves on.
So what does this mean for his customers? He stole some $8 billion from them. Some of them have lost their entire savings. Their lives have been devastated. What does this mean for them? Will they ever see a dime of their stolen money?
Look, I think it's bad all the way around. And I think 25 years is probably appropriate. You know, could it have been more than that? Sure, I guess it could have been. But the irony is that a lot of the losses have been mitigated by the run-up in the crypto markets over the last 4 months. So, yes, I think it's terrible. And I think you've got regulatory issues that need to be solved. And I think investors need to be wary. I think to the extent you're going to give someone full discretion over your capital, you better understand that individual and how they think about risk.
It sounds like you're really putting the blame here on investors who believed him and his strategy. I mean, this young man was hobnobbing with the rich and famous just 18 months ago. Ultimately, what do you think led to his downfall?
Well, I think ultimately, at the end of the day, this is an individual who basically ignored a standard of care for his investors. And he ignored a standard of care because he thought he was the smartest guy in the room, and because his investors didn't remind him that he had a standard of care, because I don't think they did due diligence. But again, you've got a bad actor who did bad things, who ignored the notion of risk and ignored the notion of standard of care. So, you know, I think there's plenty of blame to go around, and the regulatory agencies aren't without blame too.
And we've seen this time after time. We saw it with Bernie Madoff. We saw it with Elizabeth Holmes. Now Sam Bankman Fried. What is it? Is it greed? Is it arrogance? Is it complete and total disrespect for what is right or what is legal? And it keeps happening, and they, time after time, think they can get away with it.
Well, I think he checked all the boxes, that's for sure. You know, it's unfortunate. And, you know, unfortunately, it was the perfect storm. You know, regulatory murkiness, investor lack of due diligence, and a bad actor who took advantage of what he could take advantage of and who had no regard for standard of care.
All right, Barry, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much.